Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Passionate Bliss, and I want to tell you about this podcast that I just watched. It's called Casey and Titi, is the name of the podcast. And the first episode, it looks like, is called Titi and Casey's Podcast Our Story. So, I watched this podcast, and this podcast was a very good move for them. They did not attack any individuals, and they stayed away from the negativity, which is all I really asked of them. If you watch this podcast, you will find them very humanizing. You will find it very humanizing. You will find them to be very likable characters, and you will, I think, gain a certain level of sympathy and empathy for them, and you will walk away with a positive feeling about the two of them. This is good image rehab. This was the best thing they could have ever done. They were interesting when they talked about themselves, their relationship, their experience in the villa, what was not shown about them, what was shown about them. They were very interesting. Um, a couple of takeaway points for them was the question they asked: what was not shown that you would like to have had shown? He said their conversations and how deep their conversations were. First of all, these two aren't having any deep conversations. Um, but for them, sixth grade reading comprehension, I'm sure it was deep for them. But this is not going to be a deep podcast. You're not going to hear anything deep from them. Um, and I wouldn't watch it again. But I did come away from it with a good feeling. So if they continue on this line and they avoid the negativity, they did thank their fan base and they did mention the negativity. But if they continue on this line and remain positive and talk about their goals and everything for the future, like they did here, and what they're doing going forward, they will be good. They will rehab their image. The bigger brands, of course, are not going to touch them, but the medium level brands may touch them. I think they'll do better than Taylor and Clark did. Um, so they're going to make a little money, and it sounds like they're okay with making a little money. Actually, um, Casey said he wanted to act. We already know he's a great actor. He acted like he liked someone for 3 whole weeks when he couldn't stand her. So we know he's a good actor. But you're looking at Tubi. Yeah, you're not going to get like that Cordell treatment. You're going to get Tubi roles, and maybe over time that can grow. But if you get a role in a major show, it's going to be the villain because you're good at that. Um, he said he wanted to model. Like I said, he would have had an excellent modeling career. Um, and he would have gone far. I mean, he probably would have done as well as Nick has done had he not ruined his image. And even with rehab, he's not going to get that big, but he's going to get some. He'll get some brand deals. True Religion, I don't know, Fashion Nova. He'll get some brand deals, and they'll let him model too, but not what he was going to get had he not disrespected a black woman on national TV. So my thing is that even though this is good rehab for their image, and they came off very likable, they came off very marketable. Um, I don't see a major agency picking them up. They can maybe get a little agent to work with them to help them. Um, and if they continue in this line, they may even grow in popularity if they start doing cute stuff. He said he's interested in streaming. That is a route because that's totally up to you. So you can do that. They'll make good with that. Um, and what else did he say? He said acting. He said modeling. He said something else. But it's not like I'm that interested. But she said the same. And the industry may be kinder to her than they are to him because she was not the one disrespecting, although she was being hood and threatening violence on the stage. And then she's got the restraining orders, allegedly, which they didn't mention. They didn't mention anything negative about their past. They didn't mention anything negative about the villa. They didn't mention anything negative about any person. So that is great. So If you were somebody who, wanted to like them, you would. I'm not going to forget the fact that they laughed at Anaya when she was crying on the floor. And I'm not going to forget the fact that they laughed at um, Sincere's girlfriend, Melanie. They laughed at Melanie and called her a dumbass. That's evil. That's dark. I'm not going to forget that. They have a nasty mean streak. Even if they're able to rehab their image and come off as sweet and likable and endearing, which they do. They come off as sweet, likable, and endearing in this podcast. I'm not somebody who forgets when you show me who you really are. They have a nasty mean streak, and that's a part of what binds them together. And I see why they get along. They're totally compatible. She was a great choice for him. They talked about their trauma bond in the villa. This is the thing that Titi mentioned that I wanted to speak on because I felt like this applied to me. She said that she was disappointed and upset to see that, when they got the racist attacks, especially the racist, aspect of the microaggressions and the macroaggressions, where they were masculinizing her as a black woman, that, and the racial component of it. She said that she was upset to see that people in the black community were okay with it because it was her. And putting him in a dress and, a pacifier in his mouth and emasculating him, it was okay because it was them. Even though people were willing to admit that this was racist, this was racism, that people were okay with it because it was somebody black that they didn't like. And she said that she did not rock with that. She wasn't okay with that. Even if I don't like the person, I still am not okay with them being, racially profiled and racially, attacked. I was okay with it. I was okay with them being racially attacked. I was okay with her as a female being masculinized, him being emasculated as a black man. As I was okay with it because I didn't like them. They weren't likable. I feel like they invited that on themselves. Because this is my thing, and I'm going to use the N word here. There's black people, as Chris Rock said. There's black people, and then there's niggas. The thing that people don't realize that black people, we hate the niggas as well. So if you go somewhere and you act niggerish and you get called a nigger, I feel like you earned that. Because I can think of one point in my life when I was called the N-word to my face by a Caucasian male, but I had done something niggerish. And when he called me that, I laughed because I was guilty as charged at that moment in time. I was quite niggerish in that moment. So I feel like it's not really racism if you get called the N-words and you was acting like a natural born nigga. And so I'm one of those people that I'm okay with them masculinizing her and emasculating him because they invited it on themselves. In that moment, you was niggas, you and Casey both. And they treated you like that. So that's that on that, Miss Titi. That's how I feel about it. So I was okay with them doing that. But now if you are walking around being a perfectly acceptable young lady and somebody come at you like that just because of the color of your skin, then yeah, I got a problem. I got beef with them. But no, if you acting like that and they treat you like that, well then, okay. Why am I jumping up and down about it? So they weren't. It wasn't okay that they were doing that to you because they weren't doing that to you because of your skin. Because none of the other black people on the show got that kind of treatment, and they could have went that way with Anaya after she got in Casey's face. They could have went that way with her, but they didn't because that was out of character for her. Y'all came in the gate acting like this was your character, and Casey had a mask on that he took off at Casa, and it was his character. So you two invited that behavior. You invited the racism on you. You invited the masculinization. You invited the emasculating. You invited it on yourself. It wasn't because of the color of your skin. It was because of your behavior. It was because of the content of your character. So you don't get to be excused or get to throw on the racist cape. Racist cape. Actually, it was your behavior that got you that treatment, and you invited it on yourself. So I'm okay with them putting a mirror up to your face and showing you what you look like. But by all means, continue your podcast if it's going to remain positive. If you are not going to use it to attack other people and blame other people for your bad behaviors, which they did not do. So I am, those of you all who like KC and think they're adorable and they're cute and their love story was so great, if you don't mind listening to a couple have conversations about their goals and their plans and their futures and their feelings on a 6th grade reading comprehension level, then you will like this podcast. So I encourage it for you. I have to say, if I'm being honest, I enjoyed the podcast. I enjoyed watching it. And I felt like I got to know them better. And if it wasn't for the fact that they humiliated a black woman on national TV, if it wasn't for that fact, I would be willing to say, okay, I changed my mind about them. I'd be willing to say that. I'd be willing to say, okay, I can see both sides of the story. I'd be willing to say, hey, everybody makes mistakes. Maybe they'll outgrow this. Maybe it's a learning experience for them. I would give them all of that had I not seen a black woman on the floor crying on national television and then the two of them turn around and laugh at it. See, I don't forget stuff like that. You can't come back and show me a pretty picture and a nice guy routine and think I'm not supposed to believe that underneath that mask there's a nasty streak waiting. And we can expect more nasty in the future. So, but if you're one of those people that somebody can come back and totally convince you that you didn't see what you saw in their character, then you will like this and you will enjoy them and you will root for them. And more power to you. I'm just not going to be one of them. So, let me know what your thoughts are. And hit the like button, hit the comments, and subscribe. I'm not going to watch them again now. So, but if you would like, hey, check them out. It was a nice sit down combo. It's one of the best interviews that I've seen, even though they were interviewing themselves. It was one of the best interviews I've seen post Villa. They did a great job on that, actually. And they did a really great job of telling their story, their way, and representing themselves well. They did a very good job with that. And I'm here for it. Go ahead and rehab your image and make a little money. And good luck to them. With that being said, y'all have sweet dreams. Wait to find them real.